So XRP and the rest of the altcoin market on a little bit of a pullback right now, which some people were maybe not expecting. So I want to discuss exactly what I'm seeing in this market, what I think is going to come next, and what I'm doing with my trade.
XRP가 하락하고 있습니다. 불안한 지금 8년차 트레이더 코너는 어떻게 대응하고 있을까요? XRP 전망 분석과 매매 대응을 알아보겠습니다.
But we reached a high of $3.66 and now we've just reached a low of $2.95. And it's funny because I saw a lot of people saying that XRP was never going to go below $3 and stuff like this. And right here is just simply the reason why I always take profits, all right? Because when you end up trading with your emotion, and emotion includes thinking things can't ever go down again, you miss out on potential times to take profits, but also potential times to DCA into a position which you otherwise may not have had any dry powder. Now, this is not something that I'm telling you guys to do at all. This is just something that I personally do. So on a day like today, where the altcoins are down because Bitcoin dominance is up. And right now is an interesting time. It's a pivotal moment for crypto right now. So we'll discuss that in a second. But when the altcoins are down, and I still think we're actually going into an alt season, this is an opportunity for myself. So today, I did actually add to a few positions. One of those positions was my Cardano position. I added approximately 50% more margin to the trade than I had before. This is an isolated 10x position. It's now a $20,000 position. So if Cardano itself doubles from here, I would make $20,000 only using $1,700 as collateral. Now that's no guarantee, and most likely before it did happen, if it did, I would already be taking profits because, as you know, as the market moves up, I always take profits. So I added to my Cardano trade. I also reopened my Dogecoin trade. So this is now back in over $11,000 of profit. And I don't think I've talked about this on this channel, but all I'm saying is I'm averaging back in a moment of fear in the market because I believe we're still in a bull market, right? So pullbacks are opportunities in my eyes. Now we can see here from these lines, two things, right? One, I like to use very basic TA. Now this very basic TA is support and resistance and basic pattern. So we saw a basic pattern forming, right? When we were entering these trades, this basic pattern was a wedge, and after a move to the upside, these wedges can be considered bullish, right? It's not always going to work out, but that's what they're considered. So when we came down to the lower region of the wedge, that's where I started to enter the trades. And it wasn't perfect. I entered there, and then again down there when we retested or interacted with that support. XRP then did break out and went above the price point or the take profit area, depending on what you want to call that. I've kept the trade open because, you know, I have this other trade over here that I did take profits from. So I actually kept this one open. However, what I also found on the way up was our points of interest. These points of interest being resistance on the way up, and as they break, they become support on the way down. So the first resistance was $3.38, and we lost that. So the next resistance, right, sits really between $2.83 and I would say $3.01. So how do I catch those? Well, you can see the top of this, the resistance before we broke it was right there, $3.01. And actually we wicked all the way up to exactly $3 there and almost right there. So that would give me the idea, well, okay, we may retest this resistance right there, or we may retest that resistance right about there. And that's what we did. So of course I didn't call that perfectly, but we had it as low as $2.82 and we went as low as $3. So not really worrying at all in my eyes, considering I see all of these as supports. In fact, as low as really $2.36, I'd be fine if we bounced from that. Now, what makes me comfortable in the market right now looking at this is very simple, right? We have Bitcoin still consolidating above the 8-year resistance. We have good news coming out about Ethereum. Apparently, Ethereum, let's just go back here, look at this. 3 of the fastest ETFs to hit $10 billion. One of them includes Ethereum. We're talking about an ETF industry that's been around for over 3 decades and has nearly 4,400 products. And Ethereum's ETF is one of those. Of course, the other 2 are Bitcoin. Why is that important? Well, I think the liquidity flows, Bitcoin, Ethereum, altcoins, and of course, XRP is one of those altcoins. And I think right now is a healthy pullback or correction. We're also seeing the push up of Bitcoin's dominance all the way up to a resistance point. How did I find that resistance point? It was previous support here, and we're actually being rejected right now after wicking up on the daily chart, but being rejected as we speak. So how this plays out, we don't know yet. But of course, we want to drop below the 61 and then of course below this 60% to continue the altcoin rally. That's what I'm looking at, and meeting resistance here is actually quite a good sign, right? I'm seeing good things in the market. So all the while, we're having a move up for the alt season index, and we're actually seeing an increase in the search term for XRP, very much so, almost similar, about 50% of the way to where we were in 24. We're seeing the search term for altcoins go absolutely crazy, and we're seeing Bitcoin sit above its previous resistance, now support. This is all bullish in my eyes, and you can see another thing here, $700 million worth of wrecked positions. 570 million of those were long. What does that tell me? Traders were getting in late up here. And let's go on to the total 2, which is the crypto market excluding Bitcoin. So they're going long up here with too much leverage, not a plan to DCA, and too much emotion. When that happens, we're destined for a pullback. So basically what happens is on the chart, let me get this up. So as the price moves up, right, people get excited and they go long on the spot market and long on the leverage market. Too much leverage, too much emotion, and only buying on the spot market because, you know, Bob from the pub said, well, XRP is going to 100x tomorrow, right? So they do that. Then inevitably, this pushes the market up a little bit, and then we have a pullback. This pullback to previous, what is, let's just draw, maybe this is a good way to describe it. So we have this resistance, we've broken above it, and then this pullback creates a pullback to previous resistance. And in fact, it may just flip it into a support. But because people bought here with too much leverage, too much emotion, and for the wrong reasons, what happens is the trade gets liquidated, for example, or they panic sell. Whether or not that's on the leverage market or on the spot market, they're panicking because Bob from the pub down the road told them it only goes up and it's going to 10x tomorrow. So this creates selling, and then we have maybe a wick, right? And this wick liquidates, more selling, and then guess what? That wick actually gets sucked back up into the daily candle, and the market starts to bounce again. And guess what? They're like, oh, I'm so stupid. They think on this wick, oh, that was a great idea. It's fine. It's going to drop more. I know it's going to drop more. Oh, it's just broken the previous high. Okay, I'll start buying. And then we see the exact repeat of the same thing again. So that's kind of how I think the market works, right? So to take this all back to XRP, I'm not worried about this pullback. I'm waiting patiently, and I think we can go significantly higher given the news. However, I may be completely wrong. So never blindly follow me. Watch as many people as possible, do as much research as you can as possible, create your strategy, don't trade on emotion, and then hopefully we will go higher. But only time will tell. I shall catch you guys in the next one. Peace.